Well, welcome to my channel, welcome to Club Fit. I did 4 years in prison and I'm still not dead. Subscribe to the channel and give it a like. And share this video with someone tonight, yeah. Hi, when I first got out of prison, I had a lot of things to do. I had to find a job, save some money, find a place to live, open up a bank account. And you know what? I had felonies on my background, bad credit, everything else. Banks just weren't having me. I'm coming up on the checks alert system, the fraud alert, everything else. I got the job, but then they give me a paycheck because I didn't have anything to bank account to put the direct deposit on. So I'm going around in downtown San Francisco in a halfway house. These check cashing places are charging 10% to cash a paycheck, you know? I'm paying $40 to cash my $400 paycheck. It was ridiculous. I knew about these green dot cards and all that. I checked them out, $12.95 a month and everything else. You know, even if you don't have money on the card, they're still going to charge you the $12.95. Forget all that. I got an offer that you can get $50 and I can get $50 if you open up a Chime card. I'm going to tell you about this Chime card. And they're not paying me to do this, but they do have an offer, $50 for both of us if you open up an account. Chime has no fees whatsoever. If I have zero money in the account, it's a Chime Visa card. Okay, it's just like a regular Visa card. Check it out. Never, ever, ever a fee. If I have $500, $5 in there, no matter how I use the card, they don't charge me anything ever. I've had this card since I've been out of prison, about 14 months now. And after 6 months, they sent me this green card. You can't really see it because it's a green screen, but it's a green Chime card. And what it is, it's a credit builder card. So with this card, every time I buy something, it builds my credit. 6 months later, I got this, a Capital One card, and that's in my wallet, all because of Chime. I'm telling you, I never did life in prison, but I'm going to keep this Chime card for life. If you click the link below and sign up, as soon as you put $200 in your account, we both get $50. It's great for direct deposits, for your paycheck. Tax returns are coming up. It's a great card with no fees whatsoever. Even if you don't use it, they never charge nothing. The card will come in 7 days. Click the link, sign up, and I'm telling you, this is a felon-friendly card. This is perfect for people coming out of prison. And we are on. Hi, guys. Welcome to the channel again. My name is Sean, and you know this channel. I got a good friend of mine that I served time with in Florence, Colorado at the prison camp. His name is Chris. He's been on here before, and we decided to get together and talk a little bit about prison life after prison, a few things that happened before. He's been doing some research on the internet. He's got some good information to help people out there. And Chris, I forget how much time you did. I think it was 8 years, but let me reintroduce you to Chris if you haven't seen the other video. Chris, you want to say hello to people and let them just a brief little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi, Sean. Good to see you again. My name is Chris. I'm 70 years old. I was sentenced 8 years. Actually, I was sentenced 7 years and 10 months. I did 4 years and 9 months. 2 of those years were done with Sean at Florence. We were on a number of work details together. We got to know each other a little bit. And I told Sean when I get out, he's going to be about the only person I would ever stay in touch with, because it was the only person I found valuable enough to be in touch with. There's nobody else that I would consider talking with, because they're just not in the right frame of mind, and their outcome is not going to be good. You want positive people on the outside. You want to be positive on the inside. I got to know Sean really well. Sean got to know me, and that helps when you're in there. So I'm in Southern California right now. I'm a native Californian. My charge was white collar crime, and from that, I found that so far recovery has not been as difficult as I thought. But the only reason it's not being difficult is because I'm proactive about what I'm doing. If you're not going to be proactive, if you're going to have a bad frame of mind and you're going to let that system tear you down, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to be a bum, and you're going to be homeless, and you're going to have the really dark gray tint on the left side of the street. And you probably won't feel real happy about anybody around you. So pay close attention, because this is all to make it better for you from people who have gone through it.
I want to tell you a few things about Chris, guys. So he's one of the guys that never gave up. And you heard him say he's 70 years old, and just out of prison, I think, a year ago or so. And he hasn't give up, and he's actually going. He's got a lot of things going on in his life, and he's going to truck driving school, and he's doing these things at his age. I just want you to know, guys, your life's not over. They'll sentence you to prison if you're 80 years old. The feds don't care. And Chris is living proof that it doesn't matter how old you are. You can turn your life around in prison, and it could come out. I don't know if better is the word, but you could come out a better person on the inside through your prison experience. You can use that as a positive, if that makes any sense to people. I'm not saying prison is the way to go, and nobody should go to prison. If you can help it, stop those crimes you're doing right now, and maybe that's why you're watching these videos. Chris, I got another guy named Chris. I just telling you about him. Been calling me up. He's from Alabama, and he just got sentenced to 18 months. And he's going to come on here, and we're going to interview him about what he's going through, what he's facing. He's worried he wasn't going to go to a camp. He's going to go to a camp. I got to call him later today. We're going to go over these in custody level numbers. So if you guys I know a lot of my viewers are facing prison, and they don't know if they're going to a camp. They don't know if they're going to a low, to a medium. And what I tell people, if you're calling me right now, the chances are you're going to a camp or a low, because the guys that go to the penitentiaries and the mediums, they're not out on pretrial. I mean, what's your experience with that, Chris?
Absolutely, 100% correct. If you're out right now and you went to a pretrial and you're on bail, or you've been OR'd, especially if you've been OR'd, or you're out on bail right now awaiting your sentencing date, I damn sure shoot and guarantee you're going to a camp. That fellow in Alabama, he can settle down. He's going to a camp. Now, he may not like the camp he's going to, but he's going to a camp. If he was going to a low or a medium prison, he'd already be in custody. They would have put him in custody as soon as they found him guilty at the court. It's just that simple. There's no backward givens in here. If you're going to a camp and you're out on bail right now and you've already been sentenced, you're going to a camp, especially if you were given self-surrender. There is no options for self-surrender. But I'm going to backgrade a little bit here. First, I want to make sure that you all understand my particular position. I ran and operated an investment bank, which I founded, for 20 years. The bank was extremely profitable. I rubbed the SEC in the wrong direction. They wanted information that truthfully they had no right to know, because it was out of their jurisdiction. The federal government of the United States went through great pains for 3 to 4 years creating investigations, and let me say that again, creating investigations that would not have been normally considered in the U.S. territories. In other words, they want what they want when they want it, and they're going to get it. So for 4 years, they went after that, and I didn't have any idea any of this was going on. My average income annually was approximately $4 to $5 million a year in my pocket. That was my money. I employed over 300 people. I had people who put their kids through college working for my bank. We were a 100% legitimate. We had no complaints. We had no suits ever filed. None of my clients ever lost any money. In 20 years, we had a 100% positive flow. Now, there's not a lot of companies that can say that, and that's because we're not a Merrill Lynch. Our actual trading value annually was between $3 and $5 billion. We did a lot of infrastructure projects in different countries, a lot of other types of instruments. We did quite well. I should be very, very bitter about this, but I am not.
No, you're
So
very humble about that now.
yeah, what I'm telling you is that that's a good word too. What I'm telling you is that I wasn't a slouch. And I should be very, very bitter about this, but I'm going to tell you all truthfully, and I made this comment once before. I am actually thankful because when this happened, no matter whether I agree or disagree what the technicality was that got me here or not, it saved my life on a number of different avenues. It saved my life personally. It saved my life financially. There's no way I can deny it. I'm going to live longer because I have so much less stress in my life. My life is so less complicated. I'm not in and out in airplanes where I believe my middle name is seat 7B. You know, I'm not eating in restaurants and, oh, I'm sorry, if the menu starts with an item below $65, I must be in a garbage pit. Oh, I'm not wearing a shirt that costs less than $200.
He's learned to be happy with a 25-cent soup, guys.
God damn right. The one thing they never did take out of me is they never took the cowboy out of me, and that'll never change. So the point I'm making to you is that there you go. There you go. So the point I'm making to you is that there are positive avenues in this. I'm in better physical condition right now than I've ever been in the last 30 years. Financially, I'm not wealthy, but I'm comfortable. No, I don't have any money from the project. That the feds got most of that. Yeah, they got it all.
Yeah, they took all mine too.
Yeah, I know they bankrupted you, but when I went into prison, when I went in and I did not have bail, they would not give me bail because they considered me to be a flight risk for a number of reasons. I had property and homes outside of the United States. I had cash, yada, 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 yada.
And you were out of the country.
And I was out of the country.
Yeah.
And I was in the South Pacific. And so I went straight into custody and stayed in custody. And I was in a holding facility for 9 months, which is not a choice. So if you're on self-surrender and you're out on bail, then you are definitely going to a camp. I didn't know I was going to a camp until I saw the facility. I saw the bus pull up at the ADX and the federal pin in between both of them, and I got in a van and they drove me to the prison camp. Other than that, I thought I was going to be visiting, Saddam Hussein's third cousin or something.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
We used to watch that bus pull up. Remember, Chris, when we were waiting to go to work inside the ADX?
Oh,
we'd see that same bus pull up. Yeah.
You'd see those guys get out, and you could see the fear from 300 yards away. You could see the fear on them.
Yeah.
But anyhow, the long and short is that this gave me a new perspective on life. I'd like to say that I'm upset with the feds, but I'm not, because very truthfully, they gave me back something that I lost years ago. Sean, it's getting a little windy. I'm going to have to move myself inside.
Okay.
I'm going to take a little walk down here. We're still talking, but
okay.
I'm going to end up getting blown away here. Otherwise,
all right.
I didn't realize this wind was going to come up.
Okay, while you're doing that,
so
I'm going to... Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, while you're doing that, I'm going to show these guys a couple websites I found that's helpful resources. And then when you're settled, I want to tell these guys about your research that you've done for helping guys that are out of prison or going in.
Okay, go ahead, Sean.
So, guys, I got a website up here called Fair Shake. So when you get out of prison, it's fairshake.net. I got a link in the description, but it has all kinds of things, how to get food and housing and jobs and things like that. All kinds of resources when you get out. And when you get out, you're normally going to go to a halfway house, and they'll usually have a computer or two you can use there, and you can look this up. Some halfway houses let you have a smartphone, some don't. Mine did. You can look all this up because when you get out, you know, you don't have a lot of resources. Some people have their families and stuff, but that's not always enough resource to find a job and get back on your feet again. Also, when you go, if you go to the BOP website here, like I just clicked on, and they've got a thing for ex-offenders or reentry and stuff, but there's a thing called Career One Stop, and I'll have that in the description, a link, and that's about who's hiring felons right now. So there is some help out there. There's not a lot, and a lot of these websites kind of have, these companies may not be around anymore. These websites are not always uh, up to date, but there's enough in there to get started and find places. And let me see where Chris is. Now Chris is back. So I know, Chris, you had a lot of information you've been checking out on the internet for these guys. So you want to tell them about some of these conviction rates and things that you found out there? And you guys, you know how I always say the feds don't play. If the feds got you, I don't care if you take it to trial. Even if you lose, even if you win, they're gonna come back at you with another charge. I think it's about a 96% conviction rate. Wait till you hear who's got a bigger conviction rate. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, just to get past that tease, in the world, the highest conviction rate, which is really interesting considering what's on the news right now, the highest conviction rate out there belongs to Japan, 99.4%. Now, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you I didn't read the reason why, but I'm pretty much assuring myself it has to do with dollars and cents and the cost of defending yourself. Now, you can look all that up, but let me give you fellas a couple other things to think about here. We talked a little bit about, you know, how life changes, and I prefaced myself to give you guys an idea that, you know, I wasn't a slouch. I was living pretty high on the hog, and so was my family. The reality is that going to prison set me back into place. It slowed me down. It allowed me to focus. I'm not saying it's a good thing. What I'm saying is that in my particular case, it turned out to be far more positive than negative. Even though I didn't like it, it still worked. But we're going to talk about some of those things.
Chris, would you say Chris, it retaught you the value of the dollar?
It not only retaught me, not necessarily the revalue of the dollar, it taught me the value of spending that dollar.
Yeah.
How to respect that and what you have.
Respect the dollar. There you go. Yeah.
Yep. When we talk about this, we're going to talk about the beginning. Some of it's going to be, this is non-scripted, fellas. So, you know, this is completely off the cuff. So we're going to start at the beginning and go through it. And I'm hoping that there will be a lot of good information here. I'm one person, only one. There are conflicting numbers as to how many of us there are out there, but the average number is running around annual going into court. You're going to be able to read these yourselves, around 140,000 people. That is a shitload of bodies going into a federal court.
Yeah.
Not all those cases are heard in federal court. A lot of those cases are plea bargained, and we're going to talk about that too. So first, I'm going to give you all some websites that you should look at. If you have not gone to court or you're in the process of going to court, get a look at these. If you're in custody, have somebody on the outside look these up for you. Have an intelligent conversation, not an angry conversation, but an intelligent conversation so you can appraise what is best for you at this time. You all heard the saying, discretion is the better part of valor. In other words, thought is better than bravery. So you want to be a hard ass and be brave and shit. Act like, you know, you're a tattooed up dude, badass going to prison. Go ahead. Join the other minority of people who are like that. Or you can start using your brain and start thinking this through, because the whole intent of going in is to A, change you, B, allow you to re-enter society as a honest, devoted community member. So let's start working on what's going to get you out of jail fastest.
Fair enough, Sean?
Fair enough. And you're making sense
That's
because,
that's what you want to do.
at a camp, you get the opportunity to actually take advantage of what little they offer and better yourself. And a lot of people don't do that, and they come out and it's just a revolving door. And the next time they're going to the pen, but you don't have to live like that. You can actually change right now, guys, before you go in and when you get in.
Head bang for certain. So your whole objective is to get out of prison as soon as you possibly can. And the only way you're going to do that is by making positive change in yourself. Now it all sounds, real prissy and real silly and, kind of childish and funky, but it's the truth. You need to make change in yourself, whether you think you're a Joe Badass or whether you're a entitled rich guy or you're a well-educated, well-trained professional. Fuck all that, because it don't mean shit when you're in there. You got to come out bettering yourself. Now, I'm going to give you a couple websites to give you some depth into what we're talking about. The first one is called, this is a search engine input. Input this into the search engine. Conviction rate, U.S. Fed court system. Conviction rate, U.S. Fed court system.
I'll have links in the description of this video, guys, after too.
Sean's going to link these through, but that's the first one. The second one is, the second one is 2020 criminal convictions, U.S. federal court system. Once again, 2020 criminal convictions, conviction rate, U.S. court system. 2020 criminal conviction rate, U.S. court system. We're only 2 months into 2020. There's already a rate started. So that's going to get you to the site. You can go look at 2019 and you'll be shocked.
Yeah.
The third one. This is a good one. There's actually 4. I didn't give you this one, Sean. The wind was blowing my paper at the table, so I didn't see it. The third one is, what are the chances of beating a federal case? You're going to love that.
Everybody wants to know that answer.
Okay, you will find a shitload of information on that. What are your chances of beating a federal case? I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but the most important one, and this is the most important one, had I had this information, I could have saved myself at least 7 months of bullshit hard time in a box. And at my age, that's not pleasant. And that is reasons for accepting a plea bargain. The most important one. Plug into that search engine search, reasons for accepting a plea bargain. If you want to get specific, you can get specific with U.S. federal cases, state cases, county cases. You can get as specific as you want, but the whole thing is to give you knowledge. So if you have an idea of why you want to accept the plea bargain and how many dumbasses decided not to accept the plea bargain because they're innocent, I'm innocent, I get to do it, I'm going to go to jail, I can do 2 years on my head. Yeah, if you were raised that way, you can. 99% of us were not raised that way. The numbers are incredible. The U.S. average conviction rate is a little bit flexible. It comes between 94.4 and 98.2. You'll see this when you read these articles. So what that means in simple terms is for every 100 people who walk into a courtroom, 98 people are convicted. Between 96 and 98, they go to jail. That's what it means. Accept it. Why? Well, there are a number of reasons why. One, because you're guilty as hell.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
That's the hard one for people to admit.
That's the hard one to accept. 2, you watch too goddamn much TV and you listen to too many of your cronies who tell you, oh, you know what? They didn't do this and they didn't do that, so you can get out. I guarantee you they can walk up, put a gun in your head, pull the trigger, watch your brains splatter all over the wall. And by the time that gets into court, and I use the words by the time that gets into court, it's going to be your fault. Guarantee it. These people have such a command of the English language, the law, and a little thing that we call syntax, which is the structure of sentences. They can tell you that you are a low-life piece of shit, dirty dog, and it can sound like you are Rockefeller's first cousin. But the court knows what they're saying. They're smart people. For every one person who's prosecuted, I'm one person that was prosecuted. You're one person that prosecuted. Do you have any idea how many people were involved in the investigation, the presentation of pretrial, disclosure, and discovery to get you into the courtroom?
Yeah, I had 30 black SUVs in front of my house when they raided me, and I hadn't even been indicted yet. So, and that's just to start with. So I could imagine. Yeah.
Over a 4-year period of time, they had over 335 people involved in the investigation of me for the total sum of approximately $5.3 million, or I'm sorry, $5.1 million. My attorneys, fact, my attorneys on foreign soil made an offer to reimburse the government for their expense in order to drop the charge of $5.1 million. They made the offer of the expense of $2 million roundabout to cover those costs. The federal government turned around and said to my attorneys, they're called barristers in that country, interested in the money, we want him. I'm small time, I'm nobody. The reason they want me is because I broke US law, and nobody is going to get away with breaking US law. Just that simple.
Yeah.
98 tops percentage rate of convictions. I was sentenced, and now we're going to phase 2. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. You're not going to get away. Less than 2 to 4% of the people who fight their case get away with no jail time, but they're dead broke. They got nothing left. I have a very good friend who actually worked for me at one point at the bank, started an oil company, was doing quite well in South Texas. He put his stock in the hands of the foreign marketer. The foreign marketer sold his stock, never gave him the money for the sale of the stock. When he trekked into trying to get his money, it keyed up the SEC, who said, you were in violation of our policies and our regulations. And he was, to a point, but it was innocent. He ended up spending $9 million defending himself. He never got his money back. He did, in fact, avoid prison time. However, he's got no money in the bank. He and his wife and 2 kids, and this is going back a ways now, they were living in a hotel room. His family disowned him. They settled that. The family took him back. The man was devastated. No oil company would touch him, and that's the business he knows. So even though he won in court, and he's part of that 2 to 4%, and that was a marginable win, he still suffered the loss of everything he owns, because the whole thing is, you're one person, you got one attorney, and maybe that attorney has got 4 or 5 people working for him, and you're paying that guy $200 to $500 an hour just to look at you sitting in the chair across from him. When he hits a courtroom, he's probably looking at $700 an hour. Unless you're getting Joe Don's bare bark, bottom line basement attorney, you're not going to be able to afford to defend yourself. That's number one. That's how our system is set up. You operate and you live within this system, so you better learn the system before you try to stand on principle. Because right now, if I'd have stood on principle, and I defended myself in a United States federal courtroom, I would be doing 16 to 18 years. That means I'd be dead.
Yeah.
I'd be dying in federal prison.
Yeah, there was a General Flynn. I think that General Flynn had to sell. He had 2 houses. He sold them both just to pay for legal aid. And I don't remember what happened with him, if he actually won it or not. But now the guy's broke, and even if you don't go to prison, like Chris said, you still lose. They still win at the end of the day. At the end of the day, they win. They got what they wanted. They've reduced you to nothing.
That's the bottom line. Let me give you the example of the Securities Exchange Commission. Everyone thinks that the FBI is the most powerful law enforcement agency on the face of the earth. That is arguable. The Securities Exchange Commission, along with about 25 other federal branches that will get involved in your case, are far more powerful. The SEC is far more powerful than the FBI. Here's the reason why. Sean, I'm in a park. Good morning, darling. How you doing? The SEC is more powerful because the SEC employs attorneys, accountants, forensic accountants. They have no law enforcement where they're going to go walk out and put handcuffs on you. They call the FBI for that. So what's more powerful in my mind is that the mind is much stronger than the body. So the SEC can devote all of their budget to resources and research. They can find you guilty quickly. And there's not much you can do about it because they're very good, because that's all they are, investigative in that respect. They don't have to pay the budget to transport, arrest, go out and stake out and all that. Everything they do is on paper. Numbers don't lie. So that's why they are stronger than that. The FBI is just used to make the arrest. Now, when you've got an agency that employs somewhere in the neighborhood of 35,000 people, maybe a little more than that, that's 35,000 people's resources against one. That's you. If you are that tight, go to federal court. Enjoy yourself. But if you are a normal, average person, you don't stand a chance. If you are a person who is making $3 to $5 million a year, you don't stand a chance. That money gets spent quickly. And if you don't think those attorneys don't know that, you're wrong. The whole prosecution strategy, number one, is to build a case that can be presented. And who's going to give them that authority? A grand jury, if you're in California. Number two, place that stage that case out so that the cost of it becomes unbelievable, and delay it. Don't let it happen right now unless you're high profile. Make that guy wait a year. Why? Because you forget things, you misplace things. Things aren't as clear in your head as they were a year before. There's a lot of strategies involved. And I know all you guys out there are saying, especially you career boys, oh yeah, I know all about that shit. Well, if you know all about it, why are you in there for a second time, you dumbass? You know so much. You don't know shit. You know enough to be a dumbass to get busted again. Why? Because you a bad, strong, whatever the hell. Granted, there are people in prison who like being in prison. I don't have a problem with that, if that's where they want to be. Me, I want to be out here looking at that pretty girl running down the street with her dog. And that lady over there with her 3-year-old. And that man over there sitting on a park bench talking about something serious with his 13, 14-year-old son. That's what I'd rather be doing. I'd rather be looking at my grandchild than look at some burly ass bastard who brags about his 25 years in prison and got out just long enough to make some woman pregnant and then went back to prison so that she gets stuck with all the bills and he can sit there in prison and whine about how he's never met his son.
Yeah, I've seen too much of that in there, and trying to run your household from the prison payphone, and visiting day means so much to you now.
That's it. So here's the thing. If you're on pretrial and you are on bail and you have been sentenced, once again, you're going to a camp. Now, my story was a little different. We're not going to go back over all of that because there's no point. The thing about going to a camp is that a camp is kind of like prison, but not exactly. I mean, you have freedom of movement to a degree. You have things that are available to you, but you are not going to better yourself to be in the position that I am, and I'm going to explain that to you in a short time here, or the position that Sean's in, because he's accomplished pretty much the same thing, a couple of differences. And that is, being that he's younger than me, he was able to do something a little different. And that is just going from your jail time in the prison to your halfway house, to your release from halfway house, back to the general public. And then how you progress from that. So many times, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, man, I know you've heard it. How many times has someone walked up to you and said, okay, let me understand this. If I got this much good time and I got this and this, and the law says that, and this new bill takes effect here, I'm going to get out here.
That inmate.com, those, yeah. Yeah.
You've heard it 100 times. I know, because I saw somebody talking to you a dozen times, and that person came right back and talked to me. You're there. Forget it. Slam the gavels down. I sentence you to 70 months in prison. You're going to do 70 months in prison. End of story. That's what your mind says. Stop doing the calculations. Oh, I'm going to get a year off RDAP. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. Let me give you the story. RDAP is a wonderful thing. However, understand all your trade outs. Now we're talking in custody at Florence. We're talking RDAP. Here's the problem. RDAP will, in fact, give you 12 months off your sentence, no doubt. You sign a contract. If you even sniff alcohol from a shot glass, you're going back to prison. If someone says you did, and they have one more person that says, I saw him drinking a beer, you're going back to prison. If you piss test one time dirty, you're going back to prison. If you drop a financial obligation, like you didn't pay your power bill on time because you're out of work, you're going to end up back in prison.
If you get a credit card without permission from your probation officer and you owe restitution, they can send you back. Little things like that. You know how many guys I saw at the halfway house, Chris, come in with alcohol and drink, and the marshals came in the middle of the night or whatever, took them back to prison? No second chances, no nothing. They go right back.
Nothing. In my halfway house, I'm going to tell y'all, in my halfway house, and I want y'all to understand straight away, I don't care about you being black, white, brown, Asian. I don't care if you're old, you're young. I don't care if you're ugly, you're beautiful, if you're all tatted up. I don't care if you're a gangster or if you're just an old man or a young kid scared to death. I don't have any prejudices whatsoever. The one thing I do have prejudice against is stupid. There is no cure for stupid. So in my halfway house, we had a lot of Southsiders. Look it up. Do whatever. If you don't know about that, go look it up. We had Crips and Bloods, and I was stuck dead in the middle of all that. I was the only elderly white dude in the whole goddamn place. Okay, and that was my halfway house. Now, there's a whole different code of living, and that's fine. You know what? Southsiders are definitely locked to their neighborhoods, to their areas. Crips are definitely locked to their areas. Bloods are definitely locked to their areas. Nortinos, etc., etc., etc. Paisa, all these gangs, all these cars. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah, you know I don't care. I've mentioned that in my video. That's not the life I want to live, and that's not the life you have to live in a camp either, guys.
And that's the thing y'all have to remember. You need to start bettering yourself then. Look, sometimes you think you're better off joining a car, and that's good. But what I saw in my halfway house was I saw the desire and the need to get back into the swing of things, and they couldn't figure out how they're going to make it work on the outside without having that gangland tie. So if they were Southie, you're listening to them talk about cutting deals on tennis shoes. Motherfucker, are you kidding me? You're talking tennis shoes. I own 2 pairs of tennis shoes. I don't give a shit about them. I put them on my feet, one for running and one for exercise. In the story. These guys are talking $500-600, and the first words out of their mouth when they hit the halfway house is, "Hey man, how you doing? Yeah, man. Oh yeah, bro, good to hear you. Hey, you need anything? Yeah, man. You know what? I ain't got no clothes. I don't got no shoes." Some bitch is standing there wearing a $400 pair of tennis shoes, a $150 pair of pants, and a $65 t-shirt. And he ain't got nothing. He's right. He doesn't have anything and never will, because he didn't start learning in prison what he needs to do out here. I came out of prison. I don't know what you had, Sean. I had $37 on my prison credit card, which didn't work for shit. You were lucky. I know you went to an Arby's, I think, straight away.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to an Arby's for 3 months after I got out, because that stupid ass little credit card they give you wasn't accepted everywhere. It's a MetaBank card.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, guys, what I'm saying is to emphasize the fact of change. I don't give a shit what anybody says about me. That doesn't mean you're a rat. You don't go ratting out people. You don't go talking shit. You just shut the hell up and live your life in jail and do what you're supposed to do. You got a work assignment, show up. Take pride in that work that you're doing in that assignment, because that is where you start to change yourself. Take pride in the fact that you've got a family to talk to, because that is where you start to make a difference in how you communicate with people. Own up, even if you're not guilty in your mind. Dude, you're in fucking prison, you're guilty. Okay? Start believing it. Start living the life. Because if you do not believe then, you're not going to believe when you get out, i.e. the Southsiders, the Crips and the Bloods that were in the halfway house with me. I saw, just like you, Sean, in my first 30 days, I saw 17 people get jerked up. Middle of the night, middle of the day. One of them was the stupidest son of a bitch I ever saw in my life. He got jerked up because he argued and almost got into a fist fight with one of the counselors over what? Hair clippers. He wasn't supposed to have hair clippers. Someone on the outside bought him for him and threw him over the fence. Now, this sounds really stupid, but it's true. Why did he have the hair clippers? Because he was giving people haircuts. Why?
Hustling.
Because he didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And he didn't have anybody on the outside to take care of him except his gang, and they weren't taking care of him because he wasn't powerful enough within the gang.
Yeah.
So he was creating an illegal act while he was in custody, and what did it get him? It got him snatched up by the back of his neck at 3 o'clock in the morning from the bunk above me and taken right back to frickin' Terminal Island. And I did track him for a little while. He's back east someplace now. He caught another year or two. That's something else, fellas. Don't be running product when you're in custody. Don't do anything that's going to add time to you. You're gearing yourself to get the hell out of there as quickly as you can. The only way you do that is by doing what you're told. Hey, look, I'm not a sellout to the federal government. Trust me. I don't give a shit. I care about me. And I care about how I'm going to better myself, because when I'm better, everybody around me is better. When I came out of prison, I had $37. I went to the halfway house March of last year. Okay? We're coming up on March of this year. Here is what I've accomplished with $37 in my pocket. One, I have all of my paperwork, all of my IDs, everything that's required to be a normal citizen. I have a bank account. Do not have a credit card. I have ATM debit card, my social security card, my birth certificate, my passport. Everything has been restated. God, I love this park. Woo! Except for that, everything has been restated. I've got it all back. When I went in, I didn't have nothing. I lost my family in jail. They
Yeah,
went their separate ways.
that's
Yeah.
another thing, guys. If you're doing like 5 years, um, I hate to say, but most of the time your wife will not be there when you get out, and and you're not my wife, but it happens so many times. You've kind of abandoned your family, whether you know it or not. You did this to them in their mind, and it's just a fact that happens in prison. And some guys, their wife never leaves them and visits them every weekend, but that's pretty rare, right, Chris?
Totally rare. The statistic is real clear. If you have between 3 and 5 years as minimum sentence, you run an 85% chance of losing your family. Your kids will come back around.
Yeah, kids are different. Kids are different. They're going to be there.
Your kids will come back around after a period of time, but you're going to lose everything. So never try to direct anybody while you're in prison. Don't get on the phone and say, honey, I told you not to do that. You don't do that shit. You say, honey, I'm glad that you're doing that. Please be careful when you're doing it, but use your common sense. I'm behind you. That's what you say. You can't give orders because you have nothing you can do. You can't fix anything. You can't correct anything. You can't buy or fix anything. You're in a goddamn prison, you fool.
Yeah, you need to be
You can
grateful
tell
that
other
they're even
people to do
talking to
that.
you. Yeah.
And that's if they're even talking to you. And if you do fix something, you run the risk of somebody being a witness to what? Something you did that could get you what? More time. Use your head. So homeboy gets out there and he's cutting hair because he wants to buy potato chips and candy bars. Why? Because everybody else. I was in custody for 3 months before I got a real hamburger from like a McDonald's. I had my $37. That's all I had. So when I went in March 2019, I have reestablished from zero. And in this day and age, it is difficult to do that. My credit rating was non-existent because I was out of the country for more than 10 years, which means you no longer have a credit rating. It means you don't have bad credit. It means you don't have any credit. You want to go to another country and look at where I was, I got outstanding credit. Now that's shaping off because it's dropping out after 10 years. So in custody at my halfway house, I had all of my documentation squared away, and that was difficult because we all are living in COVID-19 right now. You can't get out and do the things you want to do. Difficult. Patience. Learn patience while you're in custody so that you can use them when you get outside, bettering yourself. I have all my documentation. I didn't have it beforehand because they're not going to accept. I was in New Zealand, guys. They're not going to accept a New Zealand driver's license in the United States as current form of ID on a U.S. citizen without 1,000 questions. Are you a U.S. citizen? Yes. Here's my passport. Why don't you have a U.S. driver's license? Duh. Make up the story and see how far it gets you. In other words, the truth is always going to be the thing you're going to have to say. It's because I went to prison and I do not have an American driver's license. I'm working on getting it back. Just that simple. That took less time than trying to explain, well, I was traveling. The truth of the matter is the truth of the matter. Because they're going to find out anyway. Because your halfway house counselor is going to fucking tell them. Promise you. Which puts you at a deficit. Now, Since I've gotten out in March of last year, I've got all my standard normal living things that most of us pissed off while we were doing whatever we were doing. No bank account, bad credit, no place to live, yada, 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 yada. I've gotten everything squared away. I have a place to live. I'm very comfortable. I'm not 100% happy, but I'm comfortable. I was able to get a job, not in any area that I had any expertise in. I have 2 college degrees. Useless. Nobody wants to hire me. Convicted felon.
Yeah.
And you can talk about all the laws that say they don't have a right to. It doesn't matter. When you got to be piss tested and you got to show up late one day, what are you going to say? I had a headache.
Yeah.
And then you go and do it again and again because they piss test you between 5 and 9.
Yeah. I can't come in. I can't come in today because I did my Codaphone and I have to show up to do a piss test tomorrow. And you know, I mean, you can tell your boss every day is a random day. I never know whether I can show up to work or not because I got to go pee in a cup.
Exactly. Sean, I have to take my
Expand that a little bit. If you miss the piss test, what happens?
If you're very, very lucky, your probation officer might let you go to a residential drug program, but chances are you're going to go right back to you're going to go to the local county federal detention holding center, and they're going to investigate for 30 days and figure out whether to send you back to the camp on a violation, or like I said, if you're very lucky, you might be able to do a residential drug treatment program, but you're not going home. You're not going home. They don't give second chances. I've heard of a few probation officers that do, and good luck if you got one of those guys.
Yep. So these are true facts. Now, I've gotten myself a home. I had a job. The job I got was the best I could get. My age, my education. I'm gonna cover that in a minute. My circumstance. You can always get a job with a temporary agency in production. In other words, warehouse, factory work where you're putting little parts together and shit.
Yeah, like Manpower, Manpower agencies, those kind of things.
Real-time employees.
Yeah, there's
logistics, temp services. There's 1,000 of them.
Yeah, they got apps on the phone now for all that too. Yeah.
Yep. Largest one is Pro Logistics. Okay, there's a meaning to this. I'm gonna get to it real quick here now. I went to work at a bread factory where I was putting bread in boxes. It was 8 hours of upper cardio workout. No ifs, ands, or buts. 8 hours straight, 5 days a week. Mandatory. Overtime when requested. If you didn't do the overtime when they requested it, you didn't have a job. Oh, how does that play into it? Drug testing, remember? So you get screwed both ways. If you got a shift that won't allow you to be there between 5 and 9, because you're working a shift that won't allow that, you're going to ask to have that day off, and you're going to get banged on one end, you're going to get banged on the other end. You're going to lose that job because your counselor is going to call and find out why you didn't go to work. Because the drug testing facility is going to call them and tell them you didn't. They put out a form on you. And if you don't tell your boss when you hired, listen, I have to be drug tested, you're going to be surprised at how many of these bosses out there are going to be sympathetic, because I guarantee you 40% of them minimum, between 40 and 60, have had a DUI charge, and they've gone through the same thing. I guarantee it. There are more people out there with blemishes on their record than not.
Yeah.
Take advantage of honesty. Tell them straight up. I used to tell people, I'm going to steal from you, and you're going to thank me for it. Son of a bitch, they did. Point is I didn't lie to them about it. said, if I'm going to take from you, I'm going to tell you I'm going to take. Okay, if I'm going to be drug tested, I'm going to tell you I'm going to be drug tested. I want this job for $13 damn an hour. I haven't worked for $13 an hour ever in my life. Even back in the 70s when minimum wage was $3.50, I never worked for $13. But for $13 an hour, it taught me humility. It helped me get back in shape. It allowed me to be around people that I would have never met. Good, clean, decent, hardworking people who understand that $13 an hour is all they're going to ever get. It's all that our society is going to allow them to make because of the position that they're in with their life. Either they're immigrants inbound, or they have limited education, or they have a checkered background. They never got the opportunity to better themselves, and this is the best they're going to do, and they're thankful to have it. So there you are, Mr. High and Mighty Highfalutin. You're in there with some people who really do understand the value of a dollar, who really do understand the value of family, who truly do understand hard work. Don't fool around and get yourself in trouble, because you're going to lose that lousy $13 an hour that's allowing you to live in this country. I learned all that all over again. Remember me? If the menu started at anything less than $65 a plate, I didn't eat there. I couldn't go to a gourmet hamburger shop like McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Burger King. Why? Because their hamburgers didn't start at 17 bucks.
Yeah.
And the word gourmet wasn't there. Now I'm with those people who are teaching me how to be human again, how to fit into society. The next thing I did was I took advantage of my programming. So now I got all of my paperwork. I've got a job. I got a bank account. I'm making like $385 a week. I'm rolling big dog. When you're not making, what were we getting at the camp? We were getting like what? 30 cents an hour?
They start you at 12 cents an hour. And when you do the math, it never adds up at the end of the week anyways. But,
no,
you know,
it's never the same.
Some guys made 40 a month. Some guys made 30 a month. The big time jobs were 80 a month, you know.
I was in an average income monthly of about $32. So, you know, you're talking between 12 and 20 cents an hour. Now I'm looking at $13 an hour. I'm a big dog, and I'm doing overtime up the butt because it's production. It's repetitive movement, wrists, hands. Same thing for 8 hours. You know, lift this box, put it on that pallet. Everybody talks about that shit just like they joke about their first job. My first job was Burger King. I would have died to be at Burger King. Why? Because I'm going to make at least $14 an hour. I'm going to have access to food that I'm not going to get in the halfway house, and I'm not going to have to pay for it. Something as simple as that. It means a lot. Because in the halfway house, you don't have refrigeration storage. You don't have a place to, you got microwaves. You can't buy food and keep it cold so it doesn't spoil. You have to buy either canned or dried or packaged, like the soup packet you just held up.
Yeah.
And then you have microwaves, and you have a little file box that all that fits into. That's the normal storage in a halfway house. Now, you can always tell who's not following the system's regulations because they're paying people to let them use their box. They're having food delivered every day from Uber Eats, Postmates, whatever. Who's paying for that? Their family. They're continuing to cost their family money. You know what? I'll sacrifice 2 weeks worth of hamburgers to get a decent pair of shoes on my feet so I can work comfortably.
Yeah.
But to these idiots, having everybody else watch you eat that juicy hamburger must mean you're in big time. But yeah, you ain't got a job, you've got no income, and who is looking at you? Law is looking at you. Why? Because they know you're lining up to do some shit when you get out. They're not stupid.
People like that to me, they're just a burden on society. They really are. They're just a burden on their family. But you know, I've seen
I'm
him.
not going to go that far.
I've seen him in the halfway house ordering pizzas every night. You know, with the $500 shoes, and haven't learned a thing. Still trying to run some scam on the phone out of the halfway house. I've seen those guys, and I bet you they're all back right now, or they're going to be back. They haven't learned anything. You know.
I'll tell you what, they all got clever little nicknames that fit what they were doing outside. You know, here's Shooter, there's Trigger. Oh, there's Walkaway. Gee, what did those guys do? Pretty clear what they did. But I'm in the halfway house and I'm listening to these guys do something every day that's illegal. Scamming for women on the phone, getting them to buy shit for them and send it to them. They can't have JCPenney underwear. They got to have Under Armour.
Yeah.
You know? And this all goes on all the time. And as you said, you know, that's your take, and I agree with you. I choose to use a different terminology. They are of no value to themselves. They're a burden on society in one factor, but truthfully, they are of no value to themselves because they learned nothing. They did not get in touch with themselves. They did not find a better way. So now I've got a job. I've got money coming in each week. I've got no credit. Fortunately, my age allowed me to apply for my Social Security benefits, which I could not receive straight away. I had to go through all this paper chase. The one thing you all have to remember, we're now talking halfway house. This comes to you from when you were in custody. Nothing is going to come to you quickly. You have to learn patience. You ask for it today. It's not going to be given to you for 2-3 weeks. And then it may not be given to you. It may be told to you, you can't have it. So be patient. You have to. You have to learn that.
Patience is,
Same thing
yeah.
with the job.
Yeah, you're very right about that. Patience, it's a virtue. You got to learn that. Yeah.
Same thing with the job. I've heard people in the halfway house say, I don't know why that some bitch ain't called me back yet. I'm perfect for the job, man. I've got this. I've been driving a forklift for 20 years. Dude, you've been driving a forklift for 20 years, but you weren't a convicted felon then. Now you are.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't sell 30 pounds of cocaine. Now you did. And what's he thinking? That employer is thinking, is this guy going to ship drugs through my facility? That's what he's thinking. You're not thinking. You're not using your head. So I started out at a $13 an hour job. And then I started researching as much as I could while I was in prison at Florence with you on what's available to me out there. And that's conflicting information. But there is one agency. Take note. Department of Rehabilitation. Once again, take note. The Department of Rehabilitation. DOR. This group, this department, and you got to stay on them. Be polite, be courteous, be persistent. Show that your interest is real. They will provide you with the money or the training for a job that you are not qualified for. I told Sean when I got out, I wanted to learn how to drive a truck. Why do I want to learn how to drive a truck? Well, that's simple. Yesterday at the truck driving school, there was an advertisement put out for truck drivers, $1,800 goddamn dollars a week. Why the hell would I want to drive a truck for $1,800 a week? Well, let's see. I'm sitting on my ass, driving with a little bit more exposure than what I normally drive. I'm not doing 8 hours of upper body workout. And the only person who's in that cab telling me what the fuck to do is me. I can't see any upside to that. Can you, Sean?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. That's a joke, fellas. That's the Primo Job Deluxe. And the money's incredibly good. That's almost $7,000 a month. State of California, if you're making $5,000 a month, you're going to be all right.
Yeah.
You're going to be better than all right. So bettering yourself. I went to DOR. DOR, I had pursue them and pursue them. I got them finally, and they paid $5,800 for my course, and they give me $49 a month for gas money. I have 5 classroom sessions left. And then I take my final test. I take my final test on my 71st.
Wow. Happy birthday for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you see, in the intern, I got my job. I kept my job for 3 months. I have my Social Security retirement, which that's a plus for me, not for everybody. And I was able to purchase a car from CarMax because their lending program is a little bit easier. Remember I said, having no credit is not as bad as having bad credit. I bought a $16,000 automobile. She's a beauty. And I'm enjoying it. Now, the other side of that is I've been able to repair some of the relationship with my family. My ex-wife, for example, we now talk. Why? Because now I'm stable and I know myself much better. The halfway house is not going to help you do these things. You must do these things on your own. Here's the computer, go look it up. But remember, everything you do, we see. So don't go in a computer room and pull up a porn site. Don't have somebody deliver you a phone at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're under the tent jacking off. You can do that all you want. But that is not going to put you in a better position when you get out. So if you think you can't do it, don't do it. Just be a dumbass. If you think you can do it, start doing it from prison through the halfway house. Halfway house is not going to give you passes to go do everything you want. They didn't give me a pass to go look at the place that I'm now paying rent for. I had to move in blind. What are your options? You have an apartment, you have a studio, sometimes it's senior living, sometimes sober living. Sean's in a sober living home. I'm in a sober living home. It's less rent. It's clean. It's safe. It's there for the time being. You may not like everybody in there. You may not like all that goes on. I have only 4 guys now. We're maxed to 8.
Oh, I'll tell you, probation absolutely loves the fact I'm in a sober living because they know I'm in a safe place. They don't have to worry about me. They know there's no drugs and crimes going on here, and they know if anybody does that, they're kicked out of the house. So yeah, it's probation friendly, and you know,
Yep.
I don't ever want to go back. So probation's my higher power right now.
It's the best way to be. At the same time, you want to take advantage of your state benefits that are offered to you. Medi-Cal, Medicare, Medicaid, CalFresh. I forget what the dollar one is because I don't collect the dollar one. What's the dollar one, Sean?
I think that's GA, General Assistance.
Yeah. Yep. CalFresh is food. Now, I only get $204 a month.
Yeah, I get that. I get that too. Yeah.
$204 that I don't have to spend from my $13 an hour job that I had to quit this month because I have to take the driving portion of the course. So now I'm jobless. Now I'm banking everything on me being straight enough, smart enough to graduate this class, get my CDL Class A license, not my learner's permit, I already got that, and then get employed by the middle of March.
Yeah, but you've prepared yourself to this point. You've worked hard on yourself. I know you're going to get through this part. You're ready for this part.
I'm not concerned, and you know why I'm not concerned? It's because I did my work. I worked on me, and I can go back to the employer I left in the production side, and I can make $14 an hour now. It's not going to make me self-supportive, but I won't be looking for anything like, can I spend $3 at the grocery store? Dollar store is going to have to provide me with everything. I can't go over there and spend $6 on some meat. I know I can do that because I took and learned to better me. So now my federal probation, My federal probation officer, I got to tell you right now, this is the coolest guy I've ever met. He never talks to me. He accepts my monthly submission, and then they removed him from my case and reassigned me to somebody else. And that guy's not even going to be my federal long-term probation officer. He's temporary, and he's cool as hell. Scheduling issue with the DTR. That's the drug testing people. I missed one. I caught it. I went in the next morning. Told them why, and they excused it because it was a fact. Why? Without investigation any further than just on the phone, because I'm a problem child and I've never tested dirty, and I'm always doing what I say I'm going to do.
Right, right.
Because you do what you say you're going to do, job, responsibility, no trouble. You're not calling them. You submit your FOIA reports. You disclose the information on the report that they asked for. You show them their finances. Yada, 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 everything. They leave you the hell alone.
Yeah.
My temporary promotion officer told me yesterday, which is the only time I've talked to him in 3 months, that they reassigned temporary. He's not even my normal. I want to see you get back to the job force after you finish the class. Quitting your job is excused. If I had quit my job, I'd be in trouble because it wasn't approved. If I'd have gotten fired, I'd be in trouble, maybe because of the reason they fired me. Straight and narrow, fellas. Straight and narrow. As much as it pains your criminal background and your criminal behavior, don't fuck up. I missed that test. He allowed me an excuse for it. It doesn't show. I'm cool. He allowed me because the rules say I can quit my job in order to better myself with education, which is what I'm doing. And his whole reasoning was, and I quote, I want to assist you in becoming self-sufficient so that you can take care of yourself without assistance. Period. How much more can the guy say? I don't want you to have to collect food stamps. I don't want you to have, state-assisted Medi-Cal and Medicaid to pay for your prescriptions. I want you to be able to pay for a Part B plan when you can afford it. I want you to have your own home and not be living in a sober living house. I want you to be able to afford your car, your insurance, your maintenance, yada, 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 all of the whole package. This man is actually wanting me to do it. And he's willing to allow it. And that's because I've played straight and narrow with him. Now, you go back 8 years, and I would have been looking for loopholes to fuck him over on, because that's what the business was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Chris.
John,
Yeah. I was gonna say, kind of got to wrap this up. My timer's. It's been an hour and a half, man. No offense, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
I do got to wrap this up. My timer only allows so long on here. But do you have some last final advice for people that when they come out of prison?
Yeah, I do. When you come out of prison, don't come out scared. Don't come out being a hard ass. If you were a gang member, forget about it. You can show your gang respect, but you live a straight life. You are out here for one reason, and that is to better yourself. And the only person who's going to know you're bettering yourself is you. Self-talk in the back of your head is going to say, don't do that. I'm about to fuck up. Come out with the intention of bettering yourself so that you don't have to go through all this and you don't have to live that life of a criminal. There is plenty of life after death. I'm 70 years old and I am just starting over from scratch. And right now, my inconvenience level is almost nothing, and I have nothing but success in front of me over the next 10 years. Then I can fully retire and be able to afford to. And whether you young guys don't want to admit to that or not, you better start thinking about that now, because when you get to my age and you're looking out there and people are saying, you're 70 years old, we're looking for a long-term employee. How long is my long-term? 3 years? 5 years? Work on bettering yourself from the start of the system. From the start, of when you are convicted and sentenced to when you leave the prison and go to your halfway house. Expect nothing from no one except what you yourself are able to produce and maintain. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to turn this thing off here.